find the shotgun when he searched the room?
Uh, I I don't know. I don't remember that too well.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think Grant exposed a lot of good stuff. I don't know about that not finding the shotgun aspect of things, but I do think that Grant happens to be a super straight and narrow law and order kind of guy.
Yeah,
That's my impression, and that's actually what Hank had originally said. But Hank says he's very right wing politically,
yeah.
and that certainly could be true because I don't think Tom Grant wants to consider the fact that U.S. intelligence could have been involved in Kurt Cobain's death. But maybe I'm wrong. I'd like to be wrong about that,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
Okay, let's take a little commercial break. We're with John Potash, and we're talking about his new film, "Drugs as Weapons Against Us." And you could find you can buy the film directly from John at johnpotash.com, but it's all over the place. It's on Amazon, YouTube. You can watch it on YouTube. You can rent it on there. You can rent it on iTunes. Uh, and this is the film I'm in. I'm in there too with Hank Harrison. And so check it out and support John's work. It's a good time to support his work. So let's be right back after these messages. And now a word from our sponsors. Check out CartKing.com, 877-986-7771. Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Perhaps your current business wants to add multiple point-of-sale locations across the country quickly. Maybe the facility you manage could kickstart revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services, like let's say you own an office building or a warehouse. Put one of these carts there in the lobby. Well, CartKing.com can be the answer to your needs. CartKing.com is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile retail coffee and food carts and kiosks money can buy. For 20 years, CartKing.com has been working with clients and corporations across America to provide indoor and outdoor carts and kiosks for any application. From large, heated, and secure outdoor retail or food kiosks to smaller, more mobile coffee kiosks or coffee stations, coffee carts, CartKing.com designs and builds them all. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on the website, CartKing.com. Please visit today at CartKing.com or just call them at 877-986-7771. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you and you get a good deal. Remember, all these shows on Awake are brought to you by emailrevealer.com. You can go to emailrevealer.com and get a copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. You also do all the kind of different services for you. Online dating service investigations called an online infidelity investigation. And that's where you give us your husband or your boyfriend, your girlfriend's email address, and we trace it back to their online dating websites, and we return a list of all the dating sites that email is registered to. We can expand on that investigation and trace it back to porn sites, escort service sites, swinger sites, gambling websites, and even prescription drug websites, and all kinds of digital forensics, computer and cell phone digital forensics, where we can recover deleted content from an email or a hard drive and produce a report for you that you can use in court. That's emailrevealer.com, or you can contact me at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. The Opperman Report is brought to you by SubhashTechnosis.com. Subash Technosis is a search engine optimization and website design company. They're located in India, so you know you're going to save a lot of money and get top quality service. They offer all sorts of business process outsourcing, data entry, banking BPO services, recruitment process outsourcing, software testing, offshoring, research network, customer care, press release, content writing, and distribution, and much, much more. Now, you can get a hold of Subash Technosis by email at info@subashtechnosis.com. Their website is www.subashtechnosis.com, and their Skype is ANUSHASUBASH. Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. We're here with John Potash. You can go to his website, johnpotash.com, and check out his book about the Tupac, FBI War Against Tupac. His book, Drugs as Weapons Against Us, and the new film we're talking about right now based on the book, Drugs as Weapon Against Us, is on Amazon. You can find it right now. You can purchase it tonight. You can rent it on iTunes and YouTube, Vimeo, Vudu. I think it's called Vudu, right?
Right.
Yeah, never heard of it, but Voodoo. Hey, now what about LSD?
I can understand because the theory of the movie is that the government and these intelligence agencies they get activists addicted to heroin and on drugs to kind of destroy us. But what's the motive with LSD? Like, what's going on with that?
Yeah, so, well, look, Ramsey Clark had told me in 1991 at a conference that I asked him, what do you think the government uses drugs for? And he says, if they're trafficking drugs, and he says, well, he thinks they use it to sedate and divide the masses.
Right.
Now, the former head of the Students for Democratic Society, I forget his name at the top head now because they switched every year. But I quote him as saying that, he read Acid Dreams, which is the founder of Fairness, Accuracy, and Reporting's book, Martin Lee and Bruce Schlane's book on the way the CIA was trafficking acid. And he says if drugs were used to sedate his whole generation, and the reason they were doing it was to disorient it, disrupt it, and divert it. And so I show that was what happened. Okay, you got what you get Ronald Stark, who was found to be basically distributing and selling at least 100 million hits of acid in England alone over a 3-year period, according to Dick Lee, who was the top British investigator who found all this and found the drug trafficking ring under Ronald Stark. And Ronald Stark was the leader of the ring, but he was working with the Brotherhood of Eternal Love. And in an Italian court in Italy, Stark was arrested. And the first judge in this case was murdered. The second judge has said he was releasing Stark because of numerous proofs that Stark had been working with the Secret Services since 1960, meaning, this is now, and the case was 1975 in Italy. And so for at least 15 years, he was working with the U.S. intelligence, Ronald Stark. And he had acid laboratories on at least 3 different continents. And the Brotherhood of Eternal Love has been the top supplier of LSD. And so this is just some of the mass of evidence that, MK Ultra, the CIA's MK Ultra, it was called Project MK Ultra, started in 1953. They, I show that, Ernest Hemingway's editor, A.E. Hotchner, in his book, Blown Away, that Robert Lashbrook, the assistant director of MK Ultra, had brought over tons of agents and acid and money to London in 1965 and told his agents, and I quote, he quotes the agents in there, saying, put LSD in as many musicians' hands as possible. And the reason is they've been testing that LSD all throughout the 50s on thousands of soldiers, particularly Edgewood Arsenal soldiers, but thousands of different soldiers. And they tested about 36 different drugs on all these soldiers, and found the long-term effects, the short-term effects, the long-term effects. And they, in the long-term effects, 19 years later, at least 25% of those soldiers said that they still felt like their minds were hurt by using LSD. Even 19 years later, they felt their minds were still hurting from their LSD use. So it causes some problems in people. And I show at least 4 studies that say that there's some kind of cerebral damage going on there, and they're just not sure how and why it's happening, but their tests are showing cerebral damage appears to be happening in people using LSD. Now, is it pure LSD or is it street LSD? That we're not, sure of, because strychnine was LSD was being cut with strychnine, a rat poison, for many years, and still is with much street acid. And so obviously rat poison is not good for your brain, but it's causing, a lot of psychological problems and all that. I'm sorry about that, the phone, I'll turn that off.
That's okay.
But so, it just shows that they were using the LSD to hurt the minds of activists because they were dosing the head of Students for Democratic Society in Columbia, around Columbia University in New York City. They dosed, loads of people, loads of activists. Timothy Leary admitted working for the CIA knowingly since 1963, and he brought 20,000 hits of LSD to the Black Panther encampment in Algeria, where Eldridge Cleaver and his wife Kathleen Cleaver, were hosting, a Black Panther party in exile. Okay, So I'm just full of this phones. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
So that's like that's some of the evidence that is out there, of what they were doing. And so the undercover agents had also infiltrated Abbie Hoffman's group, Yippies. And Abbie Hoffman got his first hit of acid from a MK Ultra scientist. And at that time, all the evidence shows that he wasn't using any drugs at all. He wasn't smoking weed. He was married. He had 2 kids, and he was an excellent activist up in the Boston area, in Massachusetts. And after someone convinced him to try LSD, a few people convinced him to try LSD. He ended up leaving his wife and kids and moves down to New York and starts the Yippies. And the Yippies were heavily infiltrated, and then they, in turn, dosed other people and other activists.
Well, what do you describe to me? So, yeah, because I was with the Yippies down there in New York, on Bleecker Street. Describe some of the infiltration that you're talking about.
Well, George Demerly is one of the infiltrators. I name a few of the infiltrators in my book, and we're not going to be able to ever find out who all the infiltrators were. But George Demerly was one of them, and Demerly started an offshoot group of the Yippies called the Crazies.
Sure.
And so they ended up entrapping three top bombers of military-related buildings. That was Gene Alpert. She wrote a memoir about it. Sam Melville, who they called the Mad Bomber when he was in jail, who also led the Attica uprisings and was killed in the Attica uprisings. That was Gene Alpert's boyfriend. And another good activist woman and her boyfriend. They actually are the ones that started bombing buildings connected to the war, and then would call in advance. It was time bombs. They would call the building in advance, try to evacuate everyone, saying there's a bomb's going to go off, and at this time get everyone out of there. And a bomb would go off in protest of the war. They only did this after they tried every other means to protest the war. But it caught on, and activists were doing this all over the country, and the Weathermen started doing it too. But Demerly was, he got involved with them, and then he got them put in jail. But he also got involved with the much more peaceful activists and tried to mess their minds up with acid. And so it's just that's some of what was going on with Demerly. There was another biker who was an undercover FBI agent. I forget his name. I got listed in my book. Who was one of either Abbie Hoffman or Jerry Rubin's bodyguards. So that's some of it.
Yeah, there's by coincidence, I just happened to be reading Abbie Hoffman steal this book last night. I have an autographed copy I got from him, but I was reading the version online. And this, have you read it?
I think I read parts of it. I didn't read the whole thing. He was tripping so much at different points that I can't say I loved all his work by any means. I was glad he tried to do the activism he did, but promoting acid wasn't a good part of his activism.
Yeah, a lot of weird stuff.
Yeah,
connections to the Jewish Defense Organization.
That's too bad.
Yeah, and like even down there at 9 Bleecker Street, there was tons of marijuana in that building. How is everybody getting away with this? It's just
right.
The whole Richard Stratton hippie mafia stuff going on. Tons of hash he's bringing in.
Right.
It's how are they getting away with this? But then again, some of them did do time.
Yeah. And then, I understand that Jewish defense idea. It's just that I heard the Jewish Defense Group was working with U.S. intelligence, but I'm not sure of that. I just, the idea of fighting anti-Semitism is a great idea.
Yeah.
But the Jewish Defense League, or whatever their exact group was, I just heard that they were doing ugly things. So, yeah.
But it was JDO. There was 2, the JDO and the JDL, and the AJ was with the JDO. And the thing is, though, is that they had to be...
was bad news, and the other one was a little more well-meaning. I'm not sure which one.
But the thing is that there has to be a Mossad connection there. There just has to be. How could there not be?
Yeah, I don't know that, but there could be. I just don't know much about it. I really don't know much about it except for a little bit I read.
It's just all such a cesspool, Everything's just so infiltrated, and the older you get, the more you look back and see different things. Just so much makes no sense, You don't know which way to look, which way to turn.
Yeah.
I forgot what I was going to ask you.
It was SDS or Abby Hoffman or the infiltrators of the Yippies or.
Oh, I don't know. I'm all depressed now. Oh no, I was going to mention the thing about the connection between